We want a president who knows that shipping our jobs overseas is destroying our economy. Rick's economic recovery plan focuses on rebuilding the manufacturing sector and seeing that things are made in America again. And that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who understands and appreciates our great U.S. military. Rick Santorum served on the Senate Armed Services Committee and worked to modernize and upgrade the military to respond to today's threats. And that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who is a staunch defender of Israel and our commitment to them. And that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who believes in giving a hand up, not a hand out. Rick Santorum authored and passed the Welfare Reform Act, creating a welfare to work program and eliminating a federal entitlement program for the first time in our nation's history. And that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who has never supported anything that even resembles Obamacare, let alone provided the basis for it. Rick Santorum will repeal this abominable, unconstitutional legislation, and that's why we pick Rick. We're saddened by the lack of morality and integrity found in so many of our elected officials. Rick has been married to his wife Karen for 21 years, raising and homeschooling 7 children, and that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who has consistently supported traditional marriage defined as one man and one woman, and that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who doesn't run as a liberal, espouse moderate views, and yet claim to be a conservative. Rick Santorum is the only candidate who has ever run as a conservative who has beaten incumbent Democrats not once, but 3 times. He has a proven, consistent, conservative record of results. And that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who has never sat on a couch with Nancy Pelosi to tout the myth of man-made global warming. And that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who has always stood squarely against abortion. We want someone who is now and has always been pro-life. Rick Santorum wrote and helped pass the bill to end partial birth abortion, and that's why we pick Rick. We want a president who does not believe that it was America's foreign policy that caused 9/11, that he understands the threat against us by the Islamic terrorists, and that's why we pick Rick. We reject the lies of the mainstream media who claim that Rick Santorum wears his conservatism on his sleeve. No, he wears it in his heart. Rick doesn't have to have a teleprompter or a cue card. He doesn't have to be told what to say or how to say it. But from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And when Rick speaks, he expresses conservatism that comes from his heart. And that's why we pick Rick. Regardless of what the liberal left tries to say, Rick Santorum is not trying to establish a theocracy. He's simply trying to stop a secular takeover of this country that has reached ridiculous proportions, removing all references to God from the public sector. Rick understands that we declared our independence because these truths are self-evident. We were endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Rick knows that since God gives us our rights, no man and no government has the ability to take them away from us. And that's why we pick Rick. And so in closing, let us remember the words of Ronald Reagan, who said, and I quote, "Americans are hungry to feel once again a sense of mission and greatness. I don't know about you, but I'm impatient with those Republicans who after the last election rushed into print saying we must broaden the base of our party, when what they meant was to fuzz up and blur even more the differences between ourselves and our opponents." Then he said Republicans should arise, quote, "raising a banner of no pale pastels, but bold colors which make it unmistakably clear where we stand on all of the issues troubling the people," end quote. If you too are tired of the pale pastels the establishment keeps trying to hand us for our candidates, if you too want some bold colors, some unmistakable differences between between us and the Democrats, a clarion call solidly founded on the platform of the Republican Party, then the choice before us today is very clear. We must vote our values. We must choose conservatism. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we must pick Rick Santorum. Thank you very much.